Have you ever wanted to find an energy product that gives you energy really fast, but it's long lasting at the same time? Well, if you have, Hammer Gel and some other companies have you covered. Or do they? All right, it's Friday, March 24th. It's a beautiful spring morning. Heard lots of birds chirping when I got up. Got some nice sunshine. It's great. So yeah, I'm out here on the Tenderfoot Trail above Boulder. I really enjoy this trail. It's pretty nice. They recently redid it. Nice and smooth, easy gradient for the most part. Used to have a more steeper section on the bottom. It's shorter, doesn't go down as far as it used to, but it takes you to Chapman Drive, a really cool road where no cars are allowed. It was built by the Civilian Conservation Corps back in like 1935, something like that. You get some great views on this trail. You can't really tell with this camera because the mountains are a little too far off, but wow, they look beautiful today. So a few years ago, I was looking for some kind of an energy product that wouldn't spike my blood sugar, that was more of a long-lasting kind of thing. And just looking at nutritional labels, I saw Hammer Gel and saw it had like 2 grams of sugar, 20-something grams of carbohydrates. So I'm thinking, wow, this is mostly complex carbohydrates. And they even say like long-lasting energy, no sugar crash. They say stuff like that. And anyway, my particular body, I have my insulin response is different than a lot of people's, and my insulin sensitivity, everyone's got different levels of that kind of thing. For me, those high glycemic things, even when I'm exercising fairly vigorously, they affect me in a bad way. So I try to avoid that. Whereas I feel like some people can have the most high glycemic thing, especially if you're working hard on a run, and it will help them. But what I found out about Hammer Gel and other products use maltodextrin. Hammer Gel uses, it's their main ingredient, is maltodextrin. What I found out about that is that those carbohydrates from maltodextrin are not listed under sugars, even though, this is the thing, your body will absorb sugar from maltodextrin faster than basically any kind of sugar you can find, like twice as fast as honey, for example, even faster than table sugar. So even though it's listed as basically a complex carbohydrate, it will spike your blood sugar. You will get a sugar crash, just as much as you had a spoonful of table sugar. You know, and there is a case to be made for those really fast-acting, high glycemic index energy gels and things. Say you're going for your fastest marathon time, you know, sure. Or like some people's body just can accept that kind of sugar better than others. But for me, that's not what I was looking for. And that's not what I expected when I was using a product that said 2 grams of sugar, 20 something grams of complex carbs. I thought that's kind of crazy. It can be labeled that way. And it's too bad because we look at our nutritional labels and look at things like sugar versus carbohydrates. But I don't think that most products have a glycemic index listed on them, or, so you have to just kind of know when you see something like maltodextrin, how it affects your blood sugar. And as far as hammer gel goes, on their website, they say things like long-lasting energy, no sugar crash. And that's crazy. You can't have it both ways. You can't have something absorb into your bloodstream and put glucose in your bloodstream that fast and it's long lasting at the same time. That's a part that's never been explained. I've read Hammer's blogs and things on why they use maltodextrin. They never explain that, how it can be long lasting. They explain, why it's okay to have a high glycemic index fuel for vigorous activity. And they just kind of briefly say, and there's no sugar crash with maltodextrin. And they don't explain why there's no sugar crash and how you can have this long sustained energy. It doesn't add up to me. If you know something I don't know, please put it in the comments, because then we can all learn something. And a reason why a lot of these companies use maltodextrin is that it's cheap. It's cheaper than other kinds of sugar, and it can extend shelf life as well. There's also been studies that show that maltodextrin can affect your good bacteria. There are studies showing that it could potentially reduce your good bacteria and increase your bad bacteria in your gut. And it kind of makes sense of, products that have a longer shelf life. You guys kind of wonder about that. So yeah, I love this road. This is Chapman Drive. No cars are allowed. You will see a lot of bikes. You'll see hikers on the weekend, and this is a weekday morning, and I haven't seen one other person either on Tenderfoot Trail or Chapman Drive. I feel like we're very spoiled to have places like this to go to. I see wild turkeys. I see Abert squirrels, foxes. I heard either a mountain lion or a bobcat caterwauling. Their sounds are kind of similar when they're in heat. But yeah, this road was built by the CCC in the mid-1930s, Civilian Conservation Corps. What a cool thing. So in the Great Depression, Franklin Roosevelt had the New Deal, and that was this part of the New Deal was putting people to work. There's so many people unemployed, so they had a lot of people go to work with planting trees, with working on trails, with working on park shelters and park buildings and park roads, including this road here in Boulder's open space and mountain parks called Chapman Drive. And you'll see really cool stonework on the retaining walls and on a bridge down lower, that kind of stuff. If you see an older road in the United States in a recreational area and you see this cool old stonework, you might want to ask if it was built by the Civilian Conservation Corps. Maltodextrin is extremely processed, and if you look at the ingredients in Spring Energy or Muir Energy, you'll find that they look so much more natural. And for me, that kind of fuel works a lot better. Running up Chapman Drive. A few years ago, my friend Todd organized a Chapman Drive mile. Just run up a mile up Chapman Drive as fast as you can. What a cool little race. One thing about Spring Energy, if you're not familiar with their gel packets, it's not really gel. It's more like real food, like a little mush packet. But there's this extra little tab on the top. And the first time I ever tried to open one, I was like, what's this little thing getting in the way of me opening the top? And I'd rip through that thing and I'd end up with this mess. And then later I learned you leave that little tab on there and it keeps the top of the gel packet from tearing off completely. And you lose that. That's one thing I hate about gel packets. That little top part's so easy to lose. With Spring Energy, it stays attached. Once you know how to open them correctly, it's really a great way to make sure the whole wrapper stays intact. So it's easier to not be a person who litters on the trail. One thing I've read about those high glycemic energies is that it's good to have that energy that absorbs into your body very easily, and then it keeps you from depleting your glycogen stores as fast. I'm like, yeah, that makes so much sense. But then in the real world, that's never worked out for me at all. So I think it's for everybody, it's kind of like you're an experiment of one. I think they used to say that on what is that, Trail Runner Nation podcast. But you're like an experiment of one. You know, you just gotta see how your body reacts to different things in different situations. And also I've read that that's like outdated research. And you know, different camps say different things all the time. So find something that works well for you. One thing I came across a couple years ago was Clusterdextrin. And I know Scratch Labs uses a product with Clusterdextrin. And that's a different thing. And I think it is a very complex, slower burning carbohydrate. And what I've seen is that it's much, much lower on the glycemic index. So that seems kind of like the real deal if you're looking for something that's slower burning, at least from what I've seen so far. I've used it twice and it seemed okay. And I just don't do that many long runs these days. I use it very often. But yeah, I forget what it's called. It might have been like Scratch Labs Advanced something, but it was Clusterdextrin is the ingredient. Tons of carbohydrates in a little bit small form factor. The Tenderfoot Trail is one of many trails from Realization Point on Flagstaff Mountain. It's a good one. It's lightly used, some really great views, good chance for wildlife. Can get a little hot in the summer. And it's pretty exciting right now because spring is on the way. And it's fun because more people are going to be getting outside more often. We're going to be out in t-shirts and shorts. And yeah, it's exciting. The spring is on the way and people have races coming up they're training for, and people have ideas, places they want to hike, they want to climb, they want to ride bikes. And we've got the green grass is going to start showing up. Those early flowers, more birds singing in the morning. I gotta say, this sort of a shoulder season is kind of exciting too though, because it's nice, you know, it's not as cold as it had been and the trails are still pretty quiet, less people out, so that's nice too. It's all good. appreciate you joining me for another little trail outing, and hopefully see you at the next one. See you on the trail.